हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Oh, okay, fine. All right. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So Dandavat pranams to all the devotees. Thank you all for joining in for today's Bhagavad Gita study session. We'll start with prayers. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरदुषे नमः पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते जयतां सुरतौ भङ्गोर्मम मन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदाम्बोजौ श्रीराधा मदनमोहनौ दिव्याद्वृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमादः श्रीमद्रत्नागार सिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमद्राधा श्रीगोविन्ददेवौ प्रेष्ठालिभिः सेव्यमानौ स्मरामि श्रीमान् रासरसारम्भे वंशीवटतटस्थितः कर्षन् वेणुर्स्वनैर्गोपैर्गोपीनाथ श्रियेस्तु नः तप्तकाञ्चन गौराधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, गुरवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमं वन्दे श्रीगुरून् दिनतारिणं Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanyam Ishwaram Harihi Om Tat Sat. So Hare Krishna, thank you all for joining in for the Bhagavad Gita session. We are on chapter number 4. We just started chapter number 4 yesterday, which talks about transcendental knowledge, from whom we have to receive this transcendental knowledge, and how it is very important to receive this transcendental knowledge in proper disciplic succession. And then what is the role of mental speculation, our own thoughts in understanding this transcendental knowledge. All of that is explained in detail in this particular chapter number 4 by Lord Sri Krishna. And also got also some very important verses. What should be the attitude of a disciple? What should who should be approached as a spiritual master, and what should be the attitude of a disciple in trying to understand the transcendental knowledge? Right, and then we saw the first 2 verses wherein we saw Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam. Right, this knowledge was given by Lord Sri Krishna in a disciplic succession. So first, Lord Krishna gave this to Vivaswan, the sun god. Vivaswan gave it to Manu. Manu gave it to Ikshvaku. Like that, it was following a disciplic succession amongst the various kings. But then, but this disciplic succession, the chain was lost because of passage of time. Right. Manave praha ikshva kave bravit, right? And then what happens? Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam. Vivaswan manave praha manur ikshva kave bravit. Like that, it came down in a proper disciplic succession. But then what happened in between? Because of the passage of time, sakala neha mahata yogo nashtaha param tapa evam parampara praptam imam rajas shayo viduhu. Right, the great kings received it in disciplic succession, but then what happened due to the passage of time? Kala neha mahata, right? Yogo nashtaha parantapa. This yogic process or this knowledge, the link for receiving this knowledge was broken because of the passage of time. And so what happened? Krishna is again giving this knowledge to Arjuna. Right, now we'll start from verse number 3. First and foremost, Krishna is telling why Arjuna, why not anybody else? Why is Arjuna being chosen for giving this knowledge? All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Okay, Sridhar Prabhu, please go ahead. Text number 3 of chapter number 4, entitled Transcendental Knowledge.
Hare Krishna. Dandot Pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Sa evayam mayadhetya yoga prokta puradanaha bhaktoshi me saha cheti ragasyam heduttamam. Saha, the same. Eva, certainly. I am this. Maya, by me. Ti, unto you. Adya, today. Yoga, the science of yoga. Prokta, spoken. Puranam, very old. Bhakta, devotee. Asi, you are. Me, my. Saha, friend. Sa, also. Iti, therefore. Rahasyam, mystery. High, certain. Certainly. Etat, this. Uttamam, transcendental. Hare Krishna. Dandot Pranam. Translation by Prabhupada. Translation. That very ancient science of relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. Hare Krishna purport. There are 2 classes of men, namely the devotee and the demon. The Lord selected Arjuna as the recipient of the great science owing to his being a devotee of Lord. But for the demon, it is not possible to understand this great mysterious science. There are a number of editions of this great book of knowledge. Some of them have commentaries by devotees, and some of them have commentaries by the demons. Commentation by the devotee is real, whereas that the demon is useless. Arjuna accepts Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the commentary of Gita following in the footsteps of Arjuna is real devotional service to the cause of great science. The demonic, however, do not accept Lord Krishna as he is. Instead of that conquered something about Krishna and mislead general readers from the path of Krishna instruction. Here is warning about such misleading path. One should try to follow the disciplinic succession from Arjuna and thus be benefited by these great signs of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. This is a reiteration of the same point that we read yesterday. What was that? Bhakto hime sakha cheti rahasyam hi etad uttama. This transcendental knowledge is called uttama. Right? Uttama means which is supreme most. The supreme most knowledge. Krishna is chosen to give Arjuna. Why Arjuna? Bhaktos hime sakha cheti. Right? That means because you are a devotee and because you are already my friend, I'm giving you this transcendental knowledge. Right? And Prabhupada very beautifully translates this word bhakta. Who is a bhakta? A bhakta is a person, a devotee, who is not envious. Right? We cannot be a devotee of somebody whom we envy. Right? If we like somebody, if we respect somebody, we would like to follow their instructions. We will not be envious of them, thinking, oh, I want to be like what they are. In whatever position they are, I want to be in their position. Right? We will not want to imitate and copy and usurp that position from that person. But if you are really respecting a person and you want to learn from a person, then we will have love for that person. We want to serve such a person. So if we really want to understand the truth of Bhagavad Gita, then we need to hear from our spiritual authority in the same way that Arjuna heard from Krishna. Then only we will be able to arrive at what Arjuna arrived at, right? After the entire discourse of Bhagavad Gita by Lord Shri Krishna, whatever Arjuna arrived at, we can also arrive at that same conclusion, provided we also have the same kind of respect, the devotional attitude, and complete surrenderance unto our spiritual authority. Only then, Prabhupada says, we can benefit by this great science of Bhagavad Gita. Right? Prabhupada also talks about so many commentaries are there in Bhagavad Gita. Right? And most of the commentaries, there are their own interpretations they put into the Bhagavad Gita. Right? Very, very famous quote where Prabhupada himself says, right? Sarvadharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. Prabhupada says very simple. Mam ekam. I am a person. I am the supreme person. Sharanam vraja. You surrender to me like the Vrajavasis surrender to Krishna. That's it. But then they concoct, they do their mental speculation and then they say, oh, we have to surrender unto the unborn within Krishna. Right? When Krishna comes in this material world, he also becomes subject to Maya. Like that, the over analysis causes paralysis, like they say, right? We analyze too much of something, and then it curbs our even ability to even understand things, right? Over analysis causes paralysis. So we simply don't analyze much. We simply accept the word of Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu, and this is the way in which we can understand the Bhagavad Gita. We can understand transcendental knowledge and get the same benefit that Arjuna derived by hearing the Bhagavad Gita. All right, let's move forward. Text number 4. Manimala Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, yes.
No, Mataji, I want to recite, please.
Please, go ahead. Yes, Mataji, of course.
Full of mistakes, I know.
No, okay, Mataji, you can repeat after me. Aparam bhavato Arjuna vacha, aparam bhavato janma.
Arjuna uvacha, aparam bhavato janma.
Param janma vivasvataha.
Param janma vivasava.
Vivasvataha.
Vivasvataha.
Katam etad vijaniyam.
Katam etat vijaniyam.
Tvam adau proktavaniti.
Tvam adau proktavaniti. Very good, Mataji. Arjuna uvacha, Arjuna said, Aparam junior, Bhavata year, Janma birth, Param superior, Janma birth, Vivaswata of the sun god, Katham how, Itat this, Vijayanam shall I understand, Tvam you, Adau in the beginning, Proktavan instructed, Iti thus. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? Purport done by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Arjuna is an accepted devotee of the Lord. So how could he not believe Krishna's words? The fact is that Arjuna is not inquiring for himself but for those who do not believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or for the demons who do not like the idea that Krishna should be accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For them, only Arjuna inquires on this point, as if he were himself not aware of the personality of Godhead or Krishna. As it will be evident from the 10th chapter, Arjuna knew perfectly well that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the fountainhead of everything, and the last word in transcendence of transcendence. Of course, Krishna also appeared as the son of Devaki on this earth. How Krishna remained the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, the eternal original person, is very difficult for an ordinary man to understand. Therefore, to clarify this point, Arjuna put this question before Krishna so that he himself could speak authoritatively. That Krishna is supreme authority is accepted by the whole world, not only at present, but from time immemorial. And the demons alone reject him. Anyway, since Krishna is the authority accepted by all, Arjuna put this question before him in order that Krishna would describe himself without being depicted by the demons who always try to distort him in a way understandable to the demons and their followers. It is necessary that everyone for his own interest know the signs of Krishna. Therefore, when Krishna himself speaks about himself, it is auspicious for all the worlds. To the demons, such explanations by Krishna himself may appear strange because the demons always study Krishna from their own standpoint. But those who are devotees heartily welcome the statements of Krishna when they are spoken by Krishna himself. The devotees will always worship such authority statements of Krishna because they are always eager to know more and more about him. The atheists who consider Krishna an ordinary man may in his way come to know that Krishna is superhuman, that he is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, the eternal form of bliss and knowledge, that he is transcendental, and that he is above the domination of the modes of material nature and above the influence of time and space. A devotee of Krishna's, like Arjuna, is undoubtedly above any misunderstanding of the transcendental position of Krishna. Arjuna's putting this question before the Lord is simply an attempt by the devotee to defy the atheistic attitude of persons who consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being subject to the modes of material nature. Haribol, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maraji. Right? Bahunam janmanamante jnanaman mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamitihi sa mahatmasu durlabha. Very, very difficult. Because, see, generally we have this competitive nature of people who are like us, right? We don't, like the other day also, I think we were discussing about this. We don't compete with Bill Gates. We don't compete with, Steve Jobs. We don't compete with very, very high level people. We compete with our neighbors. He's got this car, I have to get that car. We don't compare with Ambani's, right? They have a helicopter, right? What do we think? Oh, I only have a Wagoner car. The neighbor has a Mercedes Benz car. I also want a Mercedes Benz. Or we think, oh, why my colleague, he is only getting promoted, why am I not getting promoted? Generally we compare with the people who are close to us, who are like us, like that, right? That's why generally there is not much of envy for the Vishnu form, because Vishnu has 4 arms, Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. He's killing so many demons, right? So we don't have envy. But then when Krishna comes in his 2-handed form, then what happens? Oh, he's just like us. He also has 2 hands. He's also like, he's also running away from his mother, Yashoda, like small children do. Like that, when we identify ourselves that, oh, the Lord is just one amongst us, then what happens? Oh, why the Lord is doing Rasa Leela pastimes, let me also do Rasa Leela pastimes. So in order to get all these people to come out of their illusion that Krishna is just another ordinary person. That is why Prabhupada has actually mentioned here Krishna is superhuman. He is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. He is eternal form of bliss and knowledge. So the next time when somebody wants to imitate the Rasa Leela, before that they need to imitate lifting of the Govardhan hill with a small finger for 7 days and 7 nights. Let them do that. Let them kill, a demon by sucking the breast, right? Like this, and also give that demon the position of a mother. Right? So the Lord is powerful, but the Lord is also so magnanimous. The Lord is so kind. Right? Aishwaryasya samagrasya veeryasya yashashashriyah jnana vairagya ischeva sannam bhaga itingana. Right? Some of us may be very powerful. We may be able to kill demons. We may even be able to lift the Govardhan also. Right? But when we are angry, what do? We try to destroy people. But Lord Krishna, along with the strength, along with the wealth, along with the knowledge, along with the renunciation, along with the beauty, is also an embodiment of compassion. Right? He gave the person who's come to kill him, he gave her the position of a mother only because she offered her breast to Krishna to offer him milk. Right? So Krishna is undoubtedly beyond any misunderstanding. His position is transcendental. Nobody can imitate the Lord. Nobody can even try to become like the Lord. Of course, we are amshas of the Lord. We do have characteristics of the Lord. We also have compassion. Sometimes we want to give in charity. We also have beauty, right? We are also, but we are infinitesimal to Lord's beauty or Lord's fame or Lord's intelligence or Lord's strength, right? That is what we need to understand. That Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. I am not going to become Krishna at any time. The Lord is Lord at all times. One cannot become God by meditation, right? Because Krishna was always God. When he was born, few days, he actually killed Putana, right? He killed so many Arishtasur. He killed so many demons, right? He did not perform austerities to become God. Nobody can become God by performing austerities, right? And to believe this, one needs to invest faith. Right? How does faith come? Faith increases when you invest a little bit of faith. The other day we were talking about how we get into an auto, right? Because it is authorized, right? It's got that black and yellow color, and it is designated, and that person is wearing a uniform, right? He's authorized by the government of India. So we get into the auto. We don't check for the person's license. We don't do anything. We invest faith in that person just because that person is authorized by the government of India. Similarly, the 4 bona fide paramparas we have, right? Starting from Krishna himself, Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Vaishnava parampara, Shri Vaishnava parampara, then Kumara Sampradaya, and then we have Rudra Sampradaya. Anyone who comes in these 4, who's authorized by these 4 bona fide paramparas, and who is acclaimed or authorized by the Shastras to be a bona fide person, then what is it? We take shelter of that person without checking the credentials, because we have no authority, we have no knowledge, we don't know how to check, right? So simply we rely on Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu, and we don't put blind faith, but we invest faith. And when we invest faith and hear from them with a submissive mind and render service, then automatically nishtha or firm faith will develop in our hearts. And that is the secret to understanding transcendental subject matters. Not a challenging spirit, not mental speculation. All of this will not enable us to understand the transcendental knowledge, right? Because this is not material knowledge that we can ratta marify and go and write it in the exam and then forget it. No, because this is a knowledge that we have to implement in our life. That is what it is, the whole thing. Yeah. All right, let's move forward. We are now on text number 5. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, pretty slow. Okay, anyways. Monimala Mataji, you already read. Okay, Sudha Mataji, go ahead. Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam veda parantapa. Synonym. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. The personality of Godhead said, Bahuni, many, may of mine. Vyatitani, have passed. Janmani, births, tava of yours. Cha and also Arjuna. O Arjuna, Tani, those, Aham, I, Veda, do know, Sarvani, all, Na, not, Tvam, you, Veta, no, Parantapa, O subduer of the enemy. Translation and
once again, Mataji. Actually, I just want to explain one particular concept, tattva here. So Arjuna is asking, Arjuna and Krishna are of the same age. So Arjuna is asking Krishna, you are telling me that you have given this knowledge to the sun god, Vivaswan, right? But how could you have given, right? Both of us are of the same age, and sun god is like existing from time immemorial. We don't know when the sun god actually came into existence, right? So the sun god is there always. So how am I to understand that you gave this knowledge to the sun god? That's what Arjuna is asking. And then Krishna is saying, you and I have passed several births. We've taken many incarnations, and I remember all of them because I am the Lord. But you don't remember them. That's why you are under delusion that I am also with you. I am equal to you in the age, and I also know only as much as you know. Right? So in that way, of course, we know that Arjuna is transcendental. Arjuna is the Sakha of the Lord. But however, from taking a point of view of a normal human being, a conditioned soul, we will generally ask like that, right? Oh, you think you know all of that? Where were you present at that time? How could you know? Like that only we ask, right? So in that way, Arjuna is also asking that question, for which Krishna is answering that question here in this particular verse. Yes, Mataji, go ahead. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada.
The personality of Godhead said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O superior of the enemy. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita 5.33, we have information of many, many incarnations of the Lord. It is stated here, Advaitamachyutamanadimanantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam cha Vedeshu Durlabhamadurlabhamatmapaptau Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, Krishna, who is the original person, absolute, infallible, without beginning. Although expanded into unlimited forms, he is still the same original, the oldest, and the person always appearing as a fresh youth. Such eternal, blissful, all-knowing forms of the Lord are usually not understood by even the best Vedic scholars, but they are always manifest to pure, unalloyed devotees. It is also stated in Brahma Samhita 5.39, Ramadimurti Shukala Niyamena Tishtan Nanavataramakarod Bhuvanishu Kintu Krishna Swayam Sambhavat Parama Pumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda Krishna, who is always situated in various incarnations such as Rama, Nisamha, and many sub incarnations as well, but who is the original personality of Godhead known as Krishna and who incarnates personally also. In the Vedas, also, it is said that the Lord, although one without a second, manifests himself in innumerable forms. He is like the Vaidurya stone which changes color yet still remains one. All those multi-forms are understood by the pure unalloyed devotees, but not by a simple study of the Vedas. Vedeshu Durlabha Madurlabha Patma Bhakto. Devotees like Arjuna are constant companions of the Lord, and whenever the Lord incarnates, the associate devotees also incarnate in order to serve the Lord in different capacities. Arjuna is one of these devotees, and in this verse it is understood that some millions of years ago, when Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god Vivaswan, Arjuna in a different capacity was also present. But the difference between the Lord and Arjuna is that the Lord remembered the incident, whereas Arjuna could not remember. That is the difference between the part and parcel living entity and the Supreme Lord. Although Arjuna is addressed herein as the mighty hero who could subdue the enemies, he is unable to recall what had happened in his various past births. Therefore, a living entity, however great he may be in the material estimation, can never equal the Supreme Lord. Anyone who is a constant companion of the Lord is certainly a liberated person, but he cannot be equal to the Lord. The Lord is described in the Brahma Samhita as infallible, Achyuta, which means that he never forgets himself, even though he is in material contact. Therefore, the Lord and the living entity can never be equal in all respects, even if the living entity is as liberated as Arjuna. Although Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord, sometimes forgets that the nature of the Lord, but by the divine grace, a devotee can at once understand the infallible condition of the Lord, whereas a non-devotee or a man or a demon cannot understand this transcendental nature. Consequently, these descriptions in the Gita cannot be understood by demonic beings. Krishna remembered acts which were performed by him millions of years before, but Arjuna could not, despite the fact that both Krishna and Arjuna are eternal in nature. We may also note herein that a living entity forgets everything due to his change of body, but the Lord remembers because he does not change his Satchidananda body. He is Advaita, which means there is no distinction between his body and himself. Everything in relation to him is spirit, whereas the conditioned soul is different from his material body. And because the Lord's body and self are identical, his position is always different from that of the ordinary living entity, even when he descends to the material platform. The demons cannot adjust themselves to this transcendental nature of the Lord, which the Lord himself explains in the following verse. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Very wonderful, isn't it? There is no difference between the soul and the body of Lord Sri Krishna. Right? We said Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra muyati. Right? Our body undergoes these 6 changes. Right? First, it is born in this world. Then it grows, then it maintains itself, then it becomes old, then produces byproducts, then it becomes old, then it becomes dwindles and becomes dies, right? And what is death? Death means the soul takes another body, because there is a distinction between the soul and the body for all the jivas, irrespective of whether it is liberated jiva, whether it is a conditioned jiva, doesn't matter. Like Arjuna is a liberated soul, isn't it? And even Arjuna is going to die. Arjuna is not going to go in the same body up, right? It is not possible to go with this material body unless it is an exception, like Dhruv Maharaj went, right? So those exceptions are specifically approved by the Lord, like Narada Muni travels around the world in the same body, right? So where there are exceptions, always there are exceptions to the rules. Why? Because the Lord will determine what is the rule and what is not a rule, what can happen, what cannot happen, right? The Lord can also defy the rules because he has made the rules. He can always take an exception for anybody, right? So our important understanding here is we are always subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord remembers everything because there is no difference between the body and the soul of the Lord. When we say that the Lord is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, it means he's completely Satchit and Ananda. There is no tinge of matter. There is no tinge of contamination in the Lord. Whereas we are also Satchit Ananda, but we are infinitesimal Satchit Ananda. We are also eternal, right? We are also knowledgeable, but our knowledge, our eternity, etc., are minuscule portions. Mameva amsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manashastan indriyani prakriti stani karshati. We are amshas of the Lord. We should be blissful all the time. Why are we in this deplorable condition? Why are we always hankering and lamenting and unhappy and miserable? Why? Because we've forgotten that we are part and parcels of the Lord. Those liberated souls who are always engaged in the service of the Lord are blissful even in this material world. That's why Krishna says, Padma Patra Ivam Basa. In this material world also, like the lotus, it is in Kichud, it is in dirty waters, but the lotus is always standing above. Similarly, such devotees of the Lord who are always engaged in the service of the Lord, they are always transcendental to the 3 modes of material nature. Although it may look externally that such devotee is suffering so much because of some ailment or some whatever, right? But they are experiencing bliss because they have elevated, they have transcended the 3 modes of material nature, right? And whatever is happening to the body is still within the 3 modes, right? Because the body is jada, whereas the ananda that is experienced by the soul is spiritual, isn't it? So that is the important point that we need to understand here, that the position of the Lord and the position of the living entity are always different. The living entity, jiva, is always infinitesimal, whereas the Lord is always infinite. That's what we understand. And also this particular verse, like Prabhupada is talking about in this purport, that while Krishna and Arjuna, even Arjuna was present at that time also, right? Whenever the Lord descends with his paraphernalia, with his associates, with his like before Krishna appears, Yashoda Maiya, Nanda Maharaj, all of them have already appeared, right? And then when the time comes, that time only Krishna appears, right? So the paraphernalia and all the ambience are already created. So similarly, when Krishna instructed Vivaswan, Arjuna must have been there in some position. Like that's what Prabhupada is saying. But Arjuna does not remember, but Krishna remembers. That is the only difference, right? The Lord always remembers everything because he does not change his body. Whereas even a pure devotee of the Lord may not remember, may or may not remember according to the will of the Lord. He may remember, he may not remember also, right? So in this way, the infinitesimal Jiva is always subordinate to the infinite Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, text number 6. Who will read? Vrishabhanu Kanya Mataji. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Yes, Mataji.
Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam iswaropi san prakritim svam adhisthaya sambhavami atma mayaya ajaha unborn api although son being so avyaya without deterioration Atma, body, Bhutatma, of all those who are born, Ishvaraha, the Supreme Lord, Api, although, Son, being so, Prakritim, in the transcendental form, Swam, of myself, Adhisthaya, being so situated, Sambhavami, I do incarnate, Atma Mayaya, by my eternal energy. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorate, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord was spoken about the peculiarity of his birth, although he may appear like an ordinary person. He remembers everything of his many, many past births, whereas a common man cannot remember what he has done even a few hours before. If someone is asked what he did exactly at the exactly at the same time one day earlier, it would be very difficult for a common man to answer immediately. He would surely have to dredge his memory to recall what he was doing exactly at the same time one day before. And yet, men often dare claim to be God or Krishna. One should not be missed by such meaningless claims. Then again, the Lord explained his Prakriti or his form. Prakriti means nature as well as Swarupa or one's own form. The Lord says that he appears in his own body. He does, Ataji, please. He does not change his body as the common living entity changes from one body to another. The conditioned soul may have one kind of body in the present birth, but he has different body in the next birth. In the material world, the living entity has no fixed body, but
Transmigrates.
In the material world, the living entity has no fixed body, but transmigrates from one body to another. The Lord, however, does not do. Whenever he appears, he does so in the same original body by his internal potency. In other words, Krishna appears in this material world in his original eternal form with two hands holding a flute. He appears exactly in his eternal body, uncontaminated by his material world. Although he appears in the same transcendental body and is Lord of the universe, it still appears that he takes his birth like an ordinary living entity. And although his body does not deteriorate like a material body,
Tibor, what happened? His body does not deteriorate like a material body. It still appears that. Mataji, you have to unmute yourself. You got muted. Okay, his body does not deteriorate.
Grandchildren at home, or in other words, he had sufficiently aged by material calculation. Still he looked
Like a young man.
Still he looked just like a young man, 20 or 25 years old. We never see a picture of Krishna in old age because he never grows old like us, although he is the oldest person in the whole creation, past, present, and future. Neither his body nor his intelligence ever deteriorates of such of changes. Therefore, it is clear that in spite of his being in the material world, he is the same unborn, eternal form of bliss and knowledge, changeless uh, in his body, nor his intelligence ever detritus of changes. Therefore,
Here. He is the same unborn. We should have our own book. Otherwise, we will do this only. He is the same unborn, eternal form of bliss and knowledge,
yes,
changeless in his transcendental body and intelligence.
Yeah. He is the same unborn, eternal form of bliss and knowledge, changeless in his transcendental body and intelligence. Factually, his appearance and disappearance are like the sun's rising, moving before us and then disappearing from our eyesight. When the sun is out of sight, we think that the sun has set, and when the sun is before our eyes, we think that the sun is on the horizon. Actually, the sun is always in its fixed position, but owing to our defective in insufficient senses, we calculate the appearance and disappearance of the sun in the sky. And because Lord Krishna's appearance and disappearance are completely different from that of any ordinary common living entity, it is evident that he is eternal, blissful, knowledge by his internal potency, and he is never contaminated by material nature. The Vedas also confirm that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unborn, yet he still appears to take his birth in multi-manifestation. And the Vedic supplementary literature also confirms that even though the Lord appears to be taking his birth, he is still without change of body. In the Bhagavatam, he appears before his mother as Narayana with 4 hands and the decorations of the six kinds of full opulences. His appearance in his original eternal form, his causeless mercy, uh, bestowed upon the living entities so that they can concentrate on the Supreme Lord as he is and not on mental conscious
Concoctions.
concussion or imagination, which the impersonality wrongly thinks the Lord's form to be. The word Maya or Atma Maya refers to the Lord's causeless mercy. According to the Vishwakosa dictionary, the Lord is conscious of all his previous appearance and disappearance, but a common living entity forgets everything about his past body as soon as he gets another body. He is the Lord of all living entities because he performs wonderful and superhuman activities while he is on his earth. Therefore, the Lord is always the same absolute truth and is without differentiation between his form and self, or between his quality and body. A question may now be raised as to why the Lord appears and disappeared in this world. This is actually in the next verse. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Okay, there's a long purport. Okay, so here, very beautiful. There are some very key words, right? Atma Maya. Atma, right? Prabhupada actually explains, right? The word Atma in Bhagavad Gita and elsewhere in the scriptures also, sometimes it can refer to the mind, sometimes it can refer to the body, sometimes it can refer to the soul, right? Atma Maya. For Krishna, there is no difference, right? Because Krishna, Atma Maya means the Lord appears according to his desire. Right? We all appear in this material world because we are forced. We are forced to be born in the womb of a particular mother, according to our previous desires, according to our previous activities. We are forced. We have not chosen. Oh, I should be born in this family. I should be born in Chennai. I should be born in this particular family. This person should be my father. This person. No, we were just according to our karmas, all these things were forced upon us, right? I should get this complexion, I should be so much beautiful, I should have so much wealth. Nothing of that, right? We've just born, and when we were born, we were crying, right? But then later on, we got conditioned to this world, right? This place is Dukhalayam. That is why anybody who comes to this world comes crying. But then what do? We get ourselves adjusted to situations, right? Because Krishna has given us that power to adapt ourselves to situations. So we have adapted ourselves to this situation of misery, and then we are trying to find happiness here. That is our conditioning, right? But when the Lord appeared, he appeared according to Atma Maya. The Lord appeared according to his own will. The Lord was not subject to be born at a particular place. The Lord appeared according to his own will in his Leela Stali, which is Vrindavan Dham, and he appeared. He knew that his parents, Yashoda Maya and Nanda Baba, have already appeared, and now it is time for my appearance. And in this way, the Lord appeared, and the Lord did not appear crying, right? When the Lord appeared, he appeared with all full opulences. He was wearing nice pitambar. He was wearing nice ornaments. He appeared when Devaki saw. Lord Krishna had actually appeared in his four-armed form with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma, because he was Vasudeva Krishna, right? Vrindavan Krishna is only manifest to Yashoda Maya. Vasudeva Krishna manifested with four arms to Yashoda Maya. So he's always transcendental, right from his birth, right from his appearance, till the time he decided to end his Leela. Right? The Lord decides when I want to appear, where I want to appear, who should be my parents, and then how do I want to end, my Leela. Like all of this, the Lord decides, right? Whereas for us, we don't decide what happens with us. We simply become the object of whatever has been destined for us. What has been destined for us is as per our previous desires. So that is very clearly the difference between the Lord and us, right? And then Prabhupada also talks about what is the internal potency? What is internal potency? It is eternal, Sat, Chit, and Ananda, right? The internal potency of the Lord is always Sat, Chit, and Ananda. And beyond Sat and Chit, it actually refers to the Ladini potency, which is the Ananda potency, right? Because we are not satisfied with Sat and Chit. Even if we become the most scholarly person in the world, right? If you don't have loving relations with even one person, if you're all alone sitting in a room and we are the topmost scholar, we will not be blissful, right? We will need that relationship, that emotional connect with people, right? That is what gives bliss, right? That is why the Lord also expands into Srimati Radharani to have that emotional connect, and we are parts and parcels of the Lord. We also have that desire to connect with people, to build relationship with people, right? But our desire to have this connect has stemmed from the Lord's desire only, right? So we are amshas of the Lord. We have the same desires as that of the Lord, but the Lord is Vibhu. The Lord can fulfill all of his desires, and we are Anu, right? If the Lord sanctions, our desires will be fulfilled. If the Lord does not sanction, our desires will not be fulfilled. And we should understand that we are always dependent upon the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And understanding this makes one happy, makes one blissful, right? Why? Because this is my favorite verse, right? Bhoktara Yajnatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhradam Sarva Bhutanam Nyatva Mam Shanti Mrichati. Krishna tells again and again, I am your friend, I am your well-wisher, I am your benefactor, right? Depend on me, right? Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. If we simply depend on the Lord, that whatever the Lord does is good for me, then we can be completely anxiety-free. To the extent we are completely surrendered to the Lord, no amount of anything in this material world can cause us anxiety. But if you are not surrendered, even the smallest of things can have the potency to make us extremely anxious. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, next couple of verses are going to tell us about the incarnation of the Lord, right? Why the Lord incarnates, yada yada dharmasya, and the next verse, paritranaya sadhuna. And then, how do we understand the incarnation of the Lord's incarnation? Janma karma me divyam. So 7, 8, 9. We will do these three verses and then we will end for today. Okay, so let's see who will read. Moshmi Mataji, go ahead. Yada yada hi dharmasya.
यदा हरे कृष्णा माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम. यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्. Yada yada, whenever and wherever certainly, dharmasya of religion, glanir, discrepancies, bhavati, become manifested. Bharata, descendant of Bharata, Abhyutanam, predominance, mm, adharmasya of irreligion, tada at that time, atmanam, self, arjami, uh,
Sujami.
arjami, manifest, aham, I. Translation. mm, whenever and wherever there is a decline in religion practice, or descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion at the time of at that time I descend myself. Perfect. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The word surgery is significant herein. Surgery can't be used in the sense of creation because according to the previous verse, there is no creation of Lord form or body, since all of the form are eternally exist. Therefore, Sarjami means that the Lord manifests himself as he is, although the Lord appears mm, on schedule, namely at the end of the Dwapar Yuga of the 20th millennium of the seventh Manu in one day of Brahma. He has no obligation to adhere to such a rule and regulation because he is completely free at act in many ways at his will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is a predominance of irreligiously and disappearance of true religion. Principles of religion are laid down in the Vedas, and any discrepancy in the matter of property executing the rule of the Veda make one religious. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that such principles are the laws of the Lord. Only the Lord can manifest manufacture a system of religion. The Vedas are also accepted as originally spoken by the Lord Himself to Brahma from within his heart. Therefore, the principle of dharma or religion are the direct order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, dharmamam, dharmamam
Dhamantu sakshat bhagavat pranitam.
Bhagavad Pranitam. These principles are certainly indicated through, indicated throughout the Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of the Veda is to establish such principle under the order of Supreme Lord, and the Lord directly orders at the end of the Gita that the highest principle of religion is to surrender unto him only and nothing more. The Vedic principles push one towards complete surrender unto him, and whenever such principles are disturbed by the demonic, the Lord appears. From the Bhagavatam, we understand that Lord Buddha is the incarnation of Krishna who appeared when materialism was
Rampant.
rampant and materialist were using the pretext of the authority of the Veda. Although there are certain restrictive rules and regulations regarding animals sacrifice for particularly pur- pur- purpose in the Vedas, people of domestic tendencies still took to animal sacrifice without reference to the Vedic principles. Lord Buddha appeared in order to stop this nonsense and to establish the Vedic principle of non-violence. Therefore, each and every avatar or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they are all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatara unless he is referred to by scriptures. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only in Indian soil. He can manifest himself anywhere and everywhere and whenever he desires to appear. In each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstance. But the mission is the same: to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principle of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide bona fide representative in the form of his son or servant or himself in some disguised form.
Hare Krishna.
The
We'll just try to go through this. So yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, right? This gives the purpose of Lord's incarnation. Why does the Lord incarnate, right? So various here Prabhupada actually gives an example of Buddha's incarnation. Why did Buddha appear, right? Because everyone was practicing because it is given in the Vedas, like we saw the other day, how there are Puranas for those in Tamoguna and for those in Rajoguna and for those in Satvaguna. So they were actually referring to the Puranas, and then what they were doing, they were going ahead and left, right, center, cutting and killing animals, and then enjoying the activity of meat eating, right? Saying that it is already prescribed in the scriptures. So the Lord incarnated as Buddha, wherein he disregarded the complete he actually wanted everyone to practice the principle of non-violence, right? Compassion to animals, right? Not encourage meat eating. And then he disregarded everything else and established compassion to be the predominant thing, that you cannot simply cut and eat animals, right? He established the Vedic principle of non-violence, right? We also know that the 4 principles of religion is there, right? Wherein compassion is one of the essential principles, right? No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. No meat eating inculcates the principle of truthfulness. No meat eating. No gambling inculcates the principle of no meat eating actually inculcates the principle of compassion, right? Because we cannot kill animals just for our own sense gratification, because we are being incompassionate, because we are so much indulgent in sense gratification. So no meat eating kills the principle of compassion, mercy, right? No meat eating. No gambling actually destroys the principle of truthfulness, right? Because when we are cheating, right, gambling is mostly like cheating, right? When you don't know, another person is not knowing something, you try to gamble. We all know the Shakuni's episode, right, in Mahabharata also, where he tried to put the dice and try to cheat. So it defeats the principle of truthfulness. No meat eating, no gambling. And then no intoxication. No intoxication destroys the principle of austerity, right? As human beings, we are supposed to live an austere life, right? Not eat and drink and make merry and drink liquor and smoke cigarettes and do whatever we like whenever we want. That is not meant for human form. right? That is meant for lower species of life, right? A pig, if you give a nice pineapple halwa or a stool, right? Both you give to the pig will happily choose the stool and think that it is the best enjoyment, because the pig does not even know the higher taste of a pineapple halwa, right? Whereas a human being, when he gets through 2-3 dishes, he decides, he chooses which one does he like, right? He makes exercises and intelligence and then he chooses, right? Whereas the lower species, they are mostly according to the body they've acquired, they simply act, right? Whereas this power of discrimination is there only in the human form of life, right? So in the intoxication, so that is a judgment or a discretion that can be exercised only in the human form, and I don't want to indulge in drinking alcohol or cigarette smoking, because it's not good for me. It destroys the principle of austerity that is meant to be practiced as a human being. And then no illicit sex. No illicit sex actually kills the principle of cleanliness, right? So these four are basic principles of dharma, right? So when this non-violence principle, which is based on the compassion and mercy, was being completely thrown away by people indulging in killing animals for their sense gratification, Buddha, Lord Krishna, appeared as Buddha to fulfill this particular purpose of establishing the principle of non-violence, right? So when the Lord appears, there are several reasons according to the time and situation of the people, their level of understanding, right? How much can they fathom, how much they can understand, like that the Lord gives only pockets. It is not that the Lord does not know, like Shiva is in charge of Tamoguna, but Shiva is not under Tamoguna, like that. So when the Lord gives a certain amount of knowledge according to the knowledge of the people, according to the understanding ability of the people of that particular age and time, then we should understand that it is not the complete incarnation of the Lord, because the Lord is representing only certain aspects to fulfill certain purposes for which he is incarnated, like that. Okay, last paragraph of this purport. Rohini Mataji, go ahead. The principles of
The principles of Bhagavad Gita were spoken to Arjuna, and for that matter to other highly elevated persons, because he was highly advanced compared to ordinary persons in other parts of the world. 2 plus 2 equals 4 in a mathematical principle that is true in the beginner's arithmetic class and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in varied circumstances. The higher principles of religion begin with the acceptance of the 4 orders and the 4 statuses of social life, as will be explained later. The whole purpose of the mission of incarnations is to arouse Krishna consciousness everywhere. Such consciousness is manifest and non-manifest only under different circumstances. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So, so very, very clearly, it's the same thing, right? The principle is the same. The Lord incarnates to satisfy certain purposes. But what is the level of truth that the Lord is actually propagating depends on the people around, right? Like Prabhupada gives a very beautiful example here of mathematics. 2 plus 2 is always equal to 4, right? And in one more lecture, I think Prabhupada was mentioning, right? When we say 1 minus 4, then when we are in the first class, we say that it is not even possible. We cannot subtract a bigger number from a smaller number. That's what a first standard student will say. Right? And then when we go on to the principle of number line and all that, we have negative numbers, integers. Then we say 1 minus 4 is equal to minus 3. Right? So according to the level of intelligence of a particular person, certain concepts have been introduced. Similarly, the Lord also introduces certain concepts according to the consciousness of the people, how much they can digest, how much they can take in, like that. Okay, so now it's 1:50. In 10 minutes, do we want to go through the next verse, or should we do verse 6 of NOI? So it's a vote. It's a democratic country. So let us take a quick vote. We have 10 minutes. What do we take? Should we start off with verse 6 or what?
We could take NOI, Mataji.
Okay, so let's have a quick raise of hands. Rohini Mataji was reading, and so she fortunately immediately she exercised her vote very nicely. Okay, so let's have online hands up. Should we do Bhagavad Gita? Okay, should we do NOI? Okay, perfect. All right, so more votes for NOI. So let's quickly do that. So we will continue with verse number 8 tomorrow. Let's do Nectar of Instruction. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. So we saw in Nectar of Instruction, we saw the first 5 verses. Right? In the 5th verse, especially, we saw the gradations between the devotees, Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, and Uttam Adhikari. And then we also saw how one needs to respect a Vaishnava according to the level of the particular Vaishnava. Otherwise, it becomes a Vaishnava aparad. Right? And it is always better to err on the side of caution. That means it is always better to offer respect rather than disrespect a Vaishnava, thinking that that person is not so advanced. Right? And always give the benefit of doubt to any Vaishnava. Right? So in this way, we will always be safe from committing Vaishnava aparad. Now this verse, NOI 6, this is a very, very beautiful verse. Right? It talks about how we should not see a devotee based on his physical platform. Right? We should not see, why a devotee may be born with some complexion which is not very attractive, or born with some disabilities, etc. But one should not see a devotee from such material eyes. Right? And Prabhupada gives this verse itself, there is a very beautiful analogy that is given, that sometimes, in the Ganges, there is a lot of bubbles and foam and mud during the rainy season. It appears to be polluted, but the Ganges, the river Ganges, always is pure. It can never be contaminated. It can never become polluted. Similarly, a devotee, although may have so many faults in terms of his external appearance and even in terms of qualities, right? But such a devotee should not be seen from a material perspective. A devotee should always be seen as a devotee, which means he should be seen only from a transcendental perspective. All right, so let's quickly do this verse, how much ever we can in the next 10-15 minutes. दृष्टै स्वभावजनितैर्वपुषश्च दोषैर् न प्राकृतत्वमिह भक्तजनस्य पश्येत् गङ्गाम्बसां न खलु बुद्बुदफेन पङ्कैर् ब्रह्माद्रवत्वमपगच्छति नीरधर्मैः. Synonyms word to word translation. Drishtai. Anyone wants to read? Okay, I'll read. Okay, drishtai, seen by ordinary vision. Swabhava janitaihi, born of one's own nature. Swabhava, like we say, it is the habit, or it is the nature of a particular person. Swabhava janitair. Vapushaha, of the body. Cha, and doshaihi, by the faults. Na, not. Prakritatvam, the state of being material. Iha, in this world. Bhakta janasya, of a pure devotee. Pashyet, one should see. Ganga ambasam, of the Ganges waters. Na, not. Kalu, certainly. Budbudafena pankaihi, by bubbles, foam and mud. Brahma dravatvam, the transcendental nature. Apagachati, spoiled. Nira dharmaihi, the characteristics of water. Translation by His Divine Grace, Avishwaranarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Being situated in his original Krishna conscious position. Okay. Being situated in his original Krishna conscious position, a pure devotee does not identify with the body. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee as having a body born in a low family, a body with a bad complexion, a deformed body, or a diseased or an infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee. But despite such seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. Exactly like the waters of the Ganges, which sometimes during the rainy season are full of bubbles, foam, and mud. The Ganges waters do not become polluted. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. Just like Ganges is always pure, irrespective of whether there is mud or foam or sand in the water, or apparently any kind of external dust is there in the water. Similarly, a devotee, although he may be having external deformities or disabilities or whatever may be, right? Even though such kind of things may seem apparent in a devotee's body, a devotee should never be considered or to be seen in a materialistic perspective. That is what is given here. If a devotee is seen in that light, then what happens? The person who is seeing a devotee in such light, such a person will fall down from his devotional service. right? So we need to be bothered about what can cause repercussions, bad repercussions on our devotional service. We are not here to judge anybody. We are already struggling, right? When we are struggling in our own condition, what gives us the right to actually comment upon others, or even look down upon others, or even talk about others, right? We have a very short lifespan. We want to rather focus on what will help us advance in spiritual life. Okay, let me share the screen. Let's read very beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada. Anyone wants to read? Okay, Maushmi Mataji, go ahead. Yeah, I will ask Karpagamali Mataji to read because you already got a chance, right? So let her read. Yes, go ahead, Mataji. And Shobha Mataji also can read a paragraph. Yes, go ahead.
Bhakti, Prabhupada Kiti. Siddha Bhakti, the activity of the soul to offer, in other words, engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord is performed in a religion. In Bhagavad Gita 14.2, Bhakti Yogena
Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samatityaita Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate.
One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends in the mode of material nature and thus comes to be highlighted, comes to the level of Brahman. Charana Bhakti means unalloyed devotion. A person engaged in devotional service must be from material motives. In the Krishna conscious moment, once a consciousness must be changed. If consciousness is changed toward material enjoyment, it is material consciousness. And if it is aimed towards serving Krishna, it is Krishna consciousness. Our surrendered soul serves Krishna without material consideration. Anya Balishya Punyam. Jnana Karmendri Avartan. Unalloyed devotional service, which is the transcendental to the activities of the body and mind, such as jnana, mental speculation, and karma, physical works, is called pure Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is proper activity of the soul, and when one actually engages in unalloyed and contaminated devotional service, he is already liberated from Gunanan, Samakti, Sayatan. Krishna's devotee is not subjected to material conditions, even though his bodily features may appear materially conditioned. One should therefore not see a pure devotee from a materialistic point of view. Unless one is actually a devotee, we cannot see another devotee perfectly. As explained in the previous verse, there are three types of devotees: Kanishta-adhikari, Madhyama-adhikari, and Nityam-adhikari. The Kanishta-adhikari cannot distinguish between a devotee and the Lord. And he treats the Supreme Personality of God as a devotee and a non-devotee in different ways. No one should criticize the bodily defects of the
No. He's simply concerned with worshipping the deity in the temple. A Madhyama Adhikari, however,
Madhyama Adhikari, however, can distinguish between the devotee and non-devotee, as well as between the devotee and the Lord. Thus, he treats the Supreme Personality of God as a devotee and the non-devotee in different ways.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Haribol. We'll end here. Okay. So here we are the first point what we read is we should not look at a devotee from a materialistic perspective, right? How smart he is, how handsome he is, or how nicely he talks, or his material achievements, right? A devotee should never be looked at from his material achievements perspective or a material body perspective, right? That is the first point. Second point is Prabhupada quotes this very important verse from Bhagavad Gita: Mamcha yogi vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaithan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Because the devotee is already situated in a transcendental platform beyond the three modes. If we are looking at that devotee using our being in either in the tamasic mode or in the rajasic mode or even the sattvic mode, when we look at such a devotee, then what happens? We will fall down. Vyabhicharini bhakti. That means They render unalloyed devotional service unto the Lord. They are very dear to the Lord. And when we pass comments or criticize somebody who is very dear to the Lord, then what happens? We will fall down in the eyes of the Lord, and we never want to do that, right? And then Prabhupada also talks about 3 kinds of devotees and the distinction which we already discussed in detail in the previous verse. A Kanishta Adhikari only regards the Lord. He does not know how to relate with other devotees. A Madhyam Adhikari has these 4 things. What is that? A Madhyam Adhikari actually knows how to relate with other devotees, and then a Madhyam Adhikari also he knows that he has to worship the Supreme Lord. A Madhyam Adhikari also avoids the envious people. And then finally, the Madhyam Adhikari also is compassionate towards the innocent people, right? So in this way, Madhyam Adhikari knows his relationship with the Lord, his relationship with the other people, living entities also. And in this way, Madhyam Adhikari actually engages in the service of the Lord by preaching the message of the Lord. Now further, Prabhupada is going to talk about Apiche Sudaracharo Bhajante Va Mananyabhav. That even if a devotee of the Lord does even a sinful activity, even then the Lord will forgive him, right? His Grace Burijan Prabhu mentions in the Japa book, right? There is a glass which is containing beer. Okay, that glass is nicely washed. Yet what happens? The smell of the beer is still there in the glass, even though the glass has been washed 5-6 times. Similarly, a devotee, right? Now I am a practicing devotee, but I may have inclinations from my past, because of which I am conditioned to act in certain ways, because the vasana is still there. That that seed of sense gratification is automatically there. But Krishna says, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Such a person, if he continues to the process of devotional service, immediately he will get purified. And those devotees or those other people who criticize such a Vaishnava for having such habits, those Vaishnavas will actually they will fall down from their devotional service. Whereas this person who is struggling in spite of his conditioning and engaging in devotional service will be protected by the Lord, and he will advance in devotional service. So like that, this is the importance of not committing Vaishnava aparadh. And irrespective of our conditioning, simply if we sincerely try to practice devotional service, Krishna will protect us. Krishna will give us the guidance of senior devotees by which we can advance in devotional service. Hare Krishna. So with this, we will end the Nectar of Instruction study for today. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudeva ki Jai, Ananta Koji Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. So let's quickly have darshan of all the devotees in 2 minutes after we do our Harinam Sankirtan. 2 minutes. Okay, 2-5. Okay. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashatyadishatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Balagopal Jaya Balagopal Jaya Prabhupada Gurudev Jai Gurudev Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So we have Maushmi Mataji. Shobha Mataji, Sridhar Prabhu, Karpagavali Mataji, Moni Mala Mataji, Rohini Mataji, and all the devotees for joining us in spite of having got late for the session. So thank you very much for your kind patience and tolerance. You're all developing all the wonderful qualities of all the devotees, right? It's very evident. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. If anyone has any questions or comments, you can ask now. Otherwise, we can end our session right now. Hare Krishna. All right. Thank you very much. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai. Meet you all tomorrow morning, 5 o'clock, Brahma Muhurta chanting, and then 12. Oh, tomorrow is Saturday. So we'll meet now on Monday for our Bhagavad Gita study session. Hare Krishna. Srila
I think
Prabhupada.
Moshmi Mataji has a question. Moshmi Mataji was raising her hand.
Oh, Moshmi Mataji, you have a question? Everyone can unmute themselves. Yeah.
No, actually not question. I have I went in the dham that day.
Yeah.
Chakradham. And I saw where the Nitai has played and what all deeds he has done. It was so astonishing for me, and it was the realization was so pure. And when I have to come here, I was literally crying. I didn't want to come from there.
Yeah, it was actually Nityananda Trayodasi also. Now you had gone at a very wonderful time when the mood is somehow Nityananda Ram is the person from whom we get the mercy to practice devotional service. The time, the ambience, everything was in favor. Yeah, very very nice, Mataji. I hope you prayed for all of us in the Ekachakra Dham.
Yeah.
Hari bol, Hari Hari. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing, Mataji. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nityananda Ram ki jai. गौर निताय की जय. जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया सुदर्शन जी की जय. बाल गोपाल जी की जय. जय जय श्री राधे श्याम.